Back in Arlington, Texas, site of the Goodyear Cotton Bowl on Thursday night, matching Alabama and Michigan State. Over the last 5 seasons, these two teams each have 6 wins over top 5 teams, tied for the most nationally. And, of course, it speaks to the skills of the respective coaches. Mark Dantonio and Nick Saban have a long history with one another. Mark Dantonio, a former Saban assistant when he was the head coach at Michigan State. The two winning percentages, phenomenal overall for these two since 2007. Saban winning 85% of his games. Dantonio just over 73% among the elite coaches in the game. Very pleased now to be joined by the head coach of the Michigan State Spartans, Mark Dantonio. And, Coach, I know you are not one to pat yourself on the back, and I don't expect you're going to start doing it right here as we speak to you. But still, obviously, the fact that you said we need to reach higher, we need to get to the college football playoff, this is our goal, and now you're here. What does that mean to you and to your program?
Well, goal number 1 attained, First thing, I guess first thing we want to do is win the Big Ten championship, and we were able to do that. And I think that if you win the Big Ten championship, there's probably a 90% shot that you're going to get in this playoff, and I think that's proved.
Coach, this is only the second time any teams have been through this, last year being the first. Traditionally, bowl games are rewards for a successful season. You try to blend fun and the competition. Is this different? How do you approach this?
That's a good question because, there is a part of the bowl experience. Our guys, some of them went to the Mavs game last night and things like that. So you're trying to blend it. But we've been successful in the last 4 bowls that we've played, we've won, so we're trying to keep it as much like that as we can.
Yeah, you talk about the fundamentals. It's a fundamental game. What are the things that you guys have to do to come out on top?
Well, easier said than done. Like I said, it's played on the field, but we've got to win the line of scrimmage. We've got to be able to run the ball effectively. We've got to be who we are. We can't all of a sudden come out of this game and say, well, we threw it 55 times for 350 yards and ran it for 30. You can't do that. We've got to not turn the ball over. That's a fundamental aspect of football. We've got to tackle well in space. Got to play the deep ball on the deep part of the field. We've got to come down with those 50-50 catches like we've done consistently, really, the last 3 years and really this season. We've got to make those tough catches, and we've got to play. Even though it's an intangible, we've got to play with we got to play with a disposition equal to this game, and then we've got to play with a lot of character.
Coach, last time you played Alabama, we were talking, I can't remember if it was spring or preseason, and you mentioned the offensive line, your offensive line. You said that was an area that we had to become deeper, better, and more athletic. And I think perhaps you'd agree this is probably your best offensive line to date at Michigan State. How did you make that transition from the last time you played Alabama to today?
Well, I do think you're right. No disrespect to our other guys, but I think that our guys right now, we have more experience. We're bigger, we're faster, we're more physical. You could legitimately say, we've got 2 All-Americans on our offensive line and probably about 3 or 4 or 5 maybe NFL guys on our offensive line. So they're going to be a great challenge because that's who they're playing against too. But we go deep in the offensive line. We can play 8 guys, and Mark Staten has done a great job. Our coach, offensive line coach, has done an outstanding job with those guys, and they're very well schooled. And Jim Bowman is an offensive line coach by trade, so he's very much involved in that as well. And our tight ends have been a big part of this too, and they've played extremely well.
Coach, you talked about the line of scrimmage. When you focus on your defensive line, there's a lot of focus, I think, from the media, from your outside guys. But tell me, how important is the defensive tackles to really slowing this running game down and forcing Henry to be able to bounce the ball?
Yeah, obviously very critical. He can't get north and south on us. He's got those big, wide shoulders, They get north and south. I don't know. I'm sort of looking at you and saying, is he as big as you? Maybe a little bigger.
No, he's a little bigger.
Yeah, I think he is. But that's a big part of it. But, we've been firm up there all season long, and Joel Heath and Malik McDowell are 2 guys that, Damon Knox has played extremely well. Craig Evans is playing well. So we go too deep, too solid deep in there. The guys that will start for most football teams in the country.
How does the fact that this game is against someone that you worked with very closely, and Nick Saban, you're on his staff, how does that kind of symbolism play into it in your mind?
I think it gives you guys something else to talk about, But that's 20 years ago. 20 years ago, 1995, when I went, had the opportunity to go to Michigan State, and I could honestly say I wouldn't be sitting here now if I had not been afforded that opportunity. And I had the opportunity. I'm a secondary coach. Had the opportunity to coach for a secondary coach Learned a lot of football, and really who we are as a program is really patterned probably after the guys that I've worked for. You know, whether it's Glenn Mason or whether it's Jim Tressel certainly, or whether it's Nick Saban. You know, the guys I work directly for. Jim Dennison from the University of Akron is another guy that played into this, and I've tried to take something from everybody and put it in this program.
Mark Dantonio and the Michigan State Spartans, 2 wins away from a national championship. Coach, thanks for spending some time with us here, and best of luck against Alabama.
Thanks so much. Go Green.